Hello, this is Max. A medical salesman falls in love with a girl who has Parkinson's disease, which hinders their relationship. Don't forget to subscribe. In 1996, Jamie Randall, a promiscuous yet talented electronics store salesman, has a reputation for flirting with customers, including his manager Jerry's girlfriend, Christy. A private moment with Christy in the store's backroom leads to her phone inadvertently dialing Jerry, exposing her infidelity. In a fit of rage, Jerry pinches Jamie in the face and fires him. Jamie meets his family that evening, with his father James and sister Helen being doctors, and his wealthy brother Josh working in the software industry. Nancy, Jamie's mother, calls them together for dinner to celebrate the sale of their family's medical software company. During dinner, Josh's girlfriend Farah asks about Jamie's occupation, and he casually reveals that he was fired. Chuckling, Josh offers to help Jamie find a new job, referring him to a position as a pharmaceutical salesman. Jamie attends a Pfizer training program the next day, where he engages with fellow trainee Gina, who discusses Zoloft, a medication for mental illness. Jamie interjects, mentioning the link between Zoloft and suicidal thoughts in teenagers, which Gina disputes as unproven. Jamie insists that it's been proven but not widely reported, leading to a debate. After the orientation, it becomes evident that Jamie is romantically involved with Gina. On his first day as a pharmaceutical salesman, Jamie meets his regional manager, Bruce Jackson, who emphasizes the importance of meeting sales quotas. They visit a hospital's parking lot to pitch medication to doctors, but they face rejections. The next day, Jamie and Bruce wait in a hospital lobby, where Jamie uses a flirtatious strategy by addressing a passing woman as Lisa even though he doesn't know her name. His plan is to have her correct him, and then he'll pretend to mistake her for someone who stopped calling him. He believes this will make her seek his approval and make it easier for him to ask her out. Jamie and Bruce head to the second floor to meet with Dr. Knight, a doctor they hope to persuade to prescribe Zoloft instead of Prozac. However, they find Dr. Knight in a sour mood, and their initial visit is unsuccessful. They return the next day and witness a successful Prozac salesman, Trey Hainan, charmingly interacting with the receptionist and promptly entering Dr. Knight's office. Bruce explains that securing Dr. Knight's support could open up the opportunity to dominate the Chicago market. As they wait for their chance with Dr. Knight, Jamie uses his charm to persuade a woman to allow him to leave his medication samples near the doctor's office, hoping it will help him in his sales pitch. However, Dr. Knight has the intention of sending him away after their meeting. As the physician searches for his secretary Cindy, the opportunist salesman discreetly places all the competitor samples into his stroller bag. After leaving the building, he disposes of the boxes over the next few days. Jamie tries to get closer to Dr. Knight by consistently flirting with the receptionist and even becoming romantically involved with the secretary, but he sees no progress. Bruce puts more pressure on the salesman to close the deal and meet the sales quota. Desperate, Jamie approaches Dr. Knight and presents a $1,000 check the following day, describing it as a unique preceptorship opportunity to shadow the doctor. Dr. Knight accepts the offer, allowing the salesman to observe a patient examination the following morning. As they prepare to enter the room, Dr. Knight advises Jamie to introduce himself as an intern in case anyone inquires. They meet the patient, Maddie Murdoch, who suffers from early-onset Parkinson's disease. During the conversation about her use of Prozac, the fake intern interjects, pointing out that Zola tends to have fewer side effects. When the patient shows a patch on her chest, Dr. Knight reassures her that it's simply a spider bite. While observing, Jamie discreetly looks at the woman's body and becomes captivated. However, the patient eventually discovers that he's a pharmaceutical sales representative when she notices his car loaded with medication boxes in the parking lot. This revelation prompts her to strike him with her bag. Despite her earlier behavior, she insists on apologizing, and when he complies, he invites her for a coffee date. Instead of accepting, she takes a photo of him and walks away. Shortly after the incident, Jamie calls Cindy, fabricating the need for Maggie's number, claiming he must contact the patient's other doctors. Meanwhile, his brother Josh arrives, visibly upset after being kicked out by his girlfriend due to an obsession with explicit content. As his sibling immerses himself in video games, the salesman contacts Maggie, questioning her about the photo she took, but she just laughs and doesn't answer the inquiry. Not long after, he makes a second attempt and invites her for a coffee date. Maggie directs him to meet her at Lulu's Cafe the following afternoon, revealing that she works as a waitress. After her shift, they talk, and Jamie notices her hand tremors, assuming she's nervous and interested in him. However, Maggie reveals that she knows what he's after and wants the same thing. They hook up in her apartment, and over the following days, they continue to meet for short yet passionate moments. One night, after their encounter, Jamie shares that he quit mid-school due to attention deficit disorder, which made it hard for him to sit through classes. When he asks why she doesn't have a boyfriend, she explains that she wants to keep things casual. The following day, as Jamie is about to dispose of another batch of Prozac samples, Trey catches him in the act and punches him in the stomach. Trey threatens to destroy the salesman if he gets in his way and demands that he stay away from Maggie. Afterward, Jamie heads to the doctor's office, but the cold atmosphere and Cindy prohibit him from leaving samples. Frustrated, Jamie visits Maggie, who is busy organizing her photographs on the table while they have a meal together. She reveals that Trey is her ex-boyfriend, and their relationship ended when she found out he was married. Later, as they engage in another passionate encounter, the salesman experiences performance anxiety, leading them to pause and discuss their past involvement with Trey in their conversation. However, he firmly denies caring about Trey. Later, Maggie brings up a rumor about Pfizer developing a masculinity-enhancing medication, which piques his curiosity. The following morning, Jamie expresses his admiration for Maggie's painting, and she explains that she created it when she could still hold a paintbrush. As he walks towards the door, he assures her he will call, despite her request not to. After he leaves, Maggie retrieves the photo she captured from the parking lot. In the evening, while on their way to a bar, Jamie inquires about the performance-enhancing medication with Bruce. When the regional manager confirms it, the sales representative expresses confidence in his ability to sell it. Upon reaching their destination with Josh, Bruce notices Trey and Dr. Knight. He instructs Jamie to approach the physician. When Jamie approaches the two, he provokes Trey by mentioning his infidelity to his wife, causing Trey to leave. Finally, when he is alone with Dr. Knight, the representative attempts to convince him that Zoloft results in 133% fewer outbursts than Prozac. However, he fails to persuade the physician. Upon returning home, Jamie calls Maggie, who abruptly hangs up when he admits he enjoys hearing her voice. Upon hearing this, Josh teases his flirtatious brother, recognizing that he has finally fallen in love with someone. The following morning, the salesman catches Maggie, who is about to board a bus to Canada with senior citizens to get cheap medication. When the artist informs him that she'll be back the next day, Jamie returns to the same spot after work and sleeps in his car while waiting for the bus to arrive. Upon seeing the salesman the next morning, Maggie appreciates his romantic gesture and agrees to continue seeing him. The following day, Bruce reaches out to Jamie with an opportunity to sell the performance-boosting medication, which turns out to be a huge success. One evening, after spending time with the salesman, Maggie takes a videotape recorder and films him. Suddenly, Jamie calls her his girlfriend, which she acknowledges. In the following days, the two enjoy each other's company, strengthening their connection. Eventually, they decide to move in together. One evening, Maggie confronts Jamie about his dishonesty with his mother regarding his sales numbers. In his defense, he explains that he inflated the figures to make himself sound more successful. Hearing this, the artist points out his apparent need for external validation and emphasizes that he is already a talented and intelligent individual who doesn't need to lie to appear better. After work the following day, Jamie visits Maggie and nervously confesses his romantic feelings for her, explaining that he has never said those words to anyone. The artist provides him with water to help him calm down but does not immediately reciprocate by saying she also loves him. Maggie's condition worsens the next day and she realizes she has run out of medication. Meanwhile, Jamie visits Dr. Knight and proposes that the doctor prescribes Zoloft to his patient in exchange for a complimentary supply of the performance-boosting medication. When the salesman returns to Maggie's apartment, the intoxicated artist narrates her experience of waiting for 3 hours at a clinic to get her prescription. Unfortunately, the pharmacy was already closed by the time she obtained it. Unable to take her medication, the woman's self-esteem drops and she begins to argue with Jamie, questioning why he would choose someone like her. Their disagreement causes him to walk out, but when he hears the artist dropping her glass, he immediately returns and embraces her tightly. He invites her to attend a medical conference in Chicago the next day. There, an older woman approaches Maggie and recognizes her condition, handing her a flyer for a Parkinson's disease support group across the street. This prompts the artist to attend. As Maggie listens to the participants, she messages Jamie to join her. When the salesman arrives, he smiles upon seeing his girlfriend immersed in the gathering. After the support group event, Jamie encounters the spouse of an attendee dealing with a severe form of the condition. This stranger advises Jamie to leave his partner and find a healthier woman, explaining that one of the challenges of the disease is the eventual loss of motor control, which will be a lot for him to handle. After the support group event, Maddie expresses her gratitude to her boyfriend for bringing her to Chicago, realizing that people like her understand her condition. She thanks him for not running away despite her illness and tells him she loves him. Troubled by the stranger's advice, Jamie spends the night researching potential cures for the condition. However, he stops when the artist wakes up the following day. The salesman visits Dr. Knight and seeks his assistance in connecting with specialists who can help treat Maggie. Over the next few days, he takes his girlfriend to various doctors and she undergoes multiple tests. One morning, the couple flies 2,000 miles to see a specialist, only to discover that their appointment had been canceled. Upon receiving this disappointing news, Jamie couldn't help but express his frustration to the receptionist. When Maggie hears him raising his voice, she picks up her bag and walks away, causing Jamie to follow her outside the building. The artist starts to lose hope in finding a cure and recognizes that her boyfriend only wants to be with her when she's cured, prompting her to break up with him. She adds that she doesn't want to be someone holding him back now that he is progressing in his career. That night, Jamie collects his belongings from Maggie's apartment and leaves. After the breakup, they are devastated and struggle to sleep properly. One day, Dr. Knight invites the salesman to a pajama party hosted by Cassie, the woman whom Jamie once called Lisa. When his brother is about to decline, Josh grabs the phone, pretends to be his sibling, and accepts the invitation. Upon arriving at the luxurious house with his brother, Jamie enjoys drinks and converses with Dr. Knight. The doctor vents his frustrations about the challenges of his medical profession, explaining that he has to contend with patients who correct his diagnosis and believe what they read online. Suddenly, Cassie interrupts their conversation and introduces Jamie to Kay, suggesting that they all spend a steamy night together. When the salesman awakens the next day, he feels extreme pain in his private area, which leads him to call his brother so they can head to the hospital. While on their way, Josh expresses his gratitude to his sibling for bringing him to the party, stating it was the best night of his life. Upon their arrival at the hospital, Jamie informs the receptionist that he's experiencing a reaction to the performance-boosting medication, and she advises him to wait. As they sit in the waiting area, the salesman receives a message on his pager indicating that he successfully secured the Chicago market. His brother congratulates him, but he seems dissatisfied despite the achievement. When Jamie enters a restaurant to meet his manager the following night, he runs into Maggie, who's with her new boyfriend, Justin. Just as she's about to leave, he tells her how pleasant it is to see her again. Suddenly, Bruce enters the restaurant and greets Jamie. When the manager informs Maggie that the salesman obtained his desired market, she congratulates her ex-boyfriend for achieving his goal. While they dine, the supervisor informs the sales representative that he needs to relocate to Chicago as part of his promotion. The following afternoon, as Jamie packs his belongings, he takes the videotape recorder and plays it. He becomes emotional as he watches Maggie describe and cherish their special moment together, realizing he wants her back. Jamie drives to the artist's workplace, but her coworker informs him that she already left for Canada to get affordable medication. Hearing this, the salesman drives as fast as possible to catch the bus on the highway. When he spots Maggie by the window, he communicates through gestures that he wishes to speak with her. However, she initially responds by indicating she doesn't want to talk. In response, Jamie accelerates and overtakes the bus. When the bus eventually pulls over, he hurries to board it and requests a 5-minute talk with Maggie. She agrees and follows him outside to have a private conversation. In tears, the salesman opens up, explaining that he had never truly cared about anyone or anything in his entire life until he met her. He adds that he realizes he is enough because of her and emphasizes that they need each other. Hearing this, a tearful Maddie initially disagrees, but Jamie insists that she needs someone to care for her. In response, the artist expresses her concerns, stating that she'll need him more than he needs her, which doesn't seem fair. However, Jamie asserts that it's okay and offers his support for her in every way. The salesman explains that even if there's a version of them in an alternate universe where they are both healthy, he won't choose that over what they have. Hearing this, Maddie hugs him tightly, grateful for his genuine love. As a result, the couple reconciles, and the salesman decides not to go to Chicago. Instead, he chooses to continue medical school to stay with his girlfriend, whom he claims has changed his life forever. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.